Welcome everybody to the Real Dealz podcast, one of the top-ranked real estate investing podcasts for the last 7 years. This is the place to be for investing strategies you can actually use, expert interviews, and of course, some good old-fashioned entertainment. Now, here's your host for the show, Elliot, the REI guy, Smith.
What's going on, Real Dealz podcast listeners? I'm coming at you with show 394. All right, we didn't have a show last week because it was Thanksgiving and I was doing family stuff. Hopefully you guys had some good times with your family as well. Mine was a little crazy. We always usually go to 4 places. This year we got lucky. We had to go 3, but it's not really a relaxing holiday. And then I ended up working on Friday. So that's what we had going on that week. But anyway, it was a good time, good weekend with family, and got back at it on Monday. So cool thing about last week was we closed on our 32 unit for $3.475 million, and very excited about that deal. We had a broker look at it after I closed on it. I'm just looking at the numbers. We bought it very well. I feel very excited for, comparing to the market of what people would pay in the market. So I feel very good about it. We hit the ground running. We're going to be doing $225,000 of exterior stuff. We gave notices to 10 tenants already that they need to move or pay new rent. And so that is where we're at there. So pretty excited. Once again, the cool thing about our business is once we buy this, my job is to get it to the finish line and get it closed. Once we buy it, then we hand it off to Chrissy and her department and the property management department. And I still have some opinions or some say in some of it, but I don't do anything from a day-to-day basis on it. So I probably actually won't go back to the property for a while unless I need to go shoot some content on there. So pretty excited about that. The second thing that's going on with us, just trying to figure out finances. This year has, our main company is C&E Real Estate, and that's kind of our main deal. And so I want to dive in a little bit of what looks different this year. You see a lot of these people online that are, they're flipping hundreds of houses, they're doing all these things, or they're wholesaling all these houses. They don't really talk about, or they're buying buildings like we are. And it looks all rosy, sunshiny, but really understanding like what it's taken or what the sacrifices are to get there, or if they're actually making money. That's the other thing, is are they actually making money? So I'm going to dive into that a little bit in the main show. Metaverse. Read an article yesterday on this metaverse stuff. It's like virtual real estate. There's like 5 different worlds and they're all this stuff. And like one of them, they're land selling at like a minimum of $10,000 for this metaverse land, this Ready Player One virtual reality stuff. I don't understand it. I don't understand NFTs or crypto. I know people are making a ton of money in it, but just don't really get the concept. But it's the same thing as I don't get the concept of how the internet works. So, diving into that just for fun, just to, understand it a little bit better. I might create an account on one of these things and, try to play around and have a virtual Elliot or something. And we can have like virtual real estate meetups. Hey, there's an idea. I'll create a virtual real estate meetup in the metaverse. So, and then I'm going to dive in a little bit on mental health. I just want to talk about where I have been over this last year since COVID. I know I've dove into it sometimes with my anxiety and depression. I know I might have talked on the show. I've started taking Adderall about 18 months ago when we started the call center to help me focus more. And I really thought it was cheating at life, and it was in a lot of ways. And I just want to talk about how some of these things have negatively impacted me and what I'm doing to try to help my mental health be better. So anyway, that's what I'm going to talk about today on this show. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on Instagram. I'm getting a bunch of you guys reaching out on Instagram, Elliot Smith REI. Also, if you are looking for skip tracing, you can go to easyskiptrace.com for one-off skip tracing. It's EAZY, skiptrace.com, create an account. Or if you're looking for bulk skip tracing, you can do easyskiptrace.com, easyskiptrace.com, and you can do some bulk skip tracing in there. Here's a quick word from our sponsor, Ironbridge, and we'll catch you on the other side.
All right, Real Deals podcast listeners, I want to talk quickly about our show's sponsor, Ironbridge Lending. If you guys have not reached out to Ironbridge already to talk to them about funding some of your upcoming flip projects, I highly encourage you to do so. I've known the owner of Ironbridge for a very long time. I personally borrowed millions of dollars from them over the years to do a number of different projects, and I can say without a doubt, they are the best hard money lending company I have ever come across, and that is the reason why they are the sole sponsor of this show. I've had a lot of other companies reach out to me and want to sponsor this show, but I just won't do it. I feel like I need to be genuine in who we have sponsoring the show, and it needs to be somebody that I've personally done a ton of business with. So I personally vouch for their ability to be the best, hands down, in the world of hard money lending. You won't find better programs, you won't find better terms, and they're lending or will be lending in over 20 states. So chances are, if you're hearing this in whatever state you're in, it's definitely worth it to check out their website, reach out to them, see if they're lending in your state, and if they are, I would absolutely encourage you to do business with them. Another very cool thing to note is that they have a program for most rehabs where you can actually borrow up to 90% of the purchase price. Now, this is given the fact that you are actually buying a deal, which if you're listening to the show, that means you probably are. But if you have an actual deal on the table, they'll fund up to 90% of your purchase price, and they'll even give you rehab funds on top of that, which means that it only takes 10% down to get into a project, which is unbelievable in the hard money world. So do yourself a favor, reach out to Ironbridge Lending, have a conversation with them, see if they're a good fit for you and for your next project. I can guarantee you that you'll be happy that you did.
All right, guys, what's going on? So 3 things I'm going to talk about in this side of the show. Actually, just 2 things, really. Finance and mental health. And basically, how do you build this business in a sense of it looks really, really good from the outside. And same with anything. The grass always looks greener on the other side. You know, people say, oh, I don't like my job. These guys got a way better job. Then you go maybe get that other job and you realize, shit, I actually had it pretty good at this job or whatever you're doing. So the one thing about real estate and owning your own business is it's not really like an end destination anymore. It's a journey of getting from one point to the other and just trying to not fall off the side of the cliff as you're going on this journey. And so over the last 18 months, we'll start with mental health a little bit. So I talked about where I had been in rehab at 21 and I had almost 10 years sober and I relapsed early COVID because I got really depressed because everybody was shut down and it just, whatever. It kind of sparked me, it lit a fire into my ass and it ended up being a decent thing in my opinion that it happened, but it also showed some glaring problems of what I've been doing to handle my own personal mental health and my own personal sobriety. And so we started the call center, started buying a 24 apartment building, and just kind of the stuff fell in my lap and it got me really excited. But during this time, I had to start sitting in front of a computer doing sales calls with people on the call center. So I was doing, 6 to 8 hours a day in front of a computer. I've never been very good at that. When I worked my job at Fran's, I was on my feet running and gunning for 12 hours a day. As soon as I would sit down on my computer or something, I would just want to fall asleep. I'd be exhausted, I'd be tired, or I just would not be engaging. And I've been listening to this podcast, the Huberman Lab podcast, and I listened to this one talking about dopamine and how much of a factor dopamine has to play with your energy levels. And so, basically what I'm thinking is, yes, I wouldn't sleep great, but also my dopamine levels when I'm sitting there are very low. I like to be stimulated. I like to be putting deals together. I like to do these things. I'm very, very high highs and very low lows type of person. And so I've been on Lexapro since I was 23 to help with anxiety and depression. And then I also started taking Adderall back in July of 2020. And that was able to help me focus throughout the day. It was, in my opinion, a drug that was cheating at life. Literally, I felt like I was cheating. I could get so much done. I could stay so focused. But as we were going, there happened to be some negative side effects that I didn't notice at the time. And my wife has pointed out, and I said, no, it's not me. It's not the Adderall. It's just, we have a lot going on. But it really caused me to go very over the top. And Chrissy would say that I was, my filter in my mouth was a lot worse. But I was very in her face all the time. And so she wasn't able to be an introvert. She needed peace and serenity and be able to relax and have safe spaces. And I wasn't providing those safe spaces in that sense, because I was always either all going, right? And then it, over time it caused me to maybe talk not as nice or snap or have a little bit more of anger issues at some point. So 2021, I set on my personal goals to get off all pharmaceuticals, and so I hired a trainer last year, started going to the gym 5 days a week. I've been doing that very consistently. Lately, I've been kind of sucking on getting up and going and being on time, but I still am going and making efforts. So my goal was to get off pharmaceuticals, and I was going to do some things that I thought would help, and it just ended up poorly. So I kind of went back on it and said, I'll deal with it later. So as I've gone on, I think the Adderall especially has created more negative side effects going forward. I'm still back to taking some naps throughout the day, but it's also lowering my impulse control in a certain sense, and I am getting a little bit more agitated more easily. So it's time to really try to get off of this stuff and try to find a way to do healthy living. And so I start every morning with a big protein smoothie with probiotic yogurt, hemp hearts, chia seeds, flax seeds, bee pollen, whey protein, collagen protein, and it's fruit, and very healthy. And then I eat one more time throughout the day, but that's usually not a good meal. So I started this new program at a local clinic here that is all for like brain recovery and brain health, and it's oxygen therapy. And so very interesting stuff. So I'm doing that. And where this has to tie in with the real estate is because as I've gone over these last, let's call it two years, basically, where we've been pushing, maybe 18 months, where we've been pushing really hard, on the Adderall, I've been doing so many more things. So before I could have 2 or 3 partnerships. Now I want to have 6 partnerships. So I have all these different things going, and it looks really good from the outside because we do have a lot of good things going and we're building our systems, but it creates so much stress, not only on me, but on Chrissy as well. And you really can't do them all very well unless you're hiring out these teams. So as we've gone, I have had to deal with a lot more stress and anxiety, which then I sleep less. It just is a struggle in that sense. Now we've bought a lot of buildings and we've done a lot of things, but since I've been focusing more on the call center and buying these buildings, our net worth has shot up exponentially. Looks fantastic. But our overall C&E real estate, where we used to be doing all these flips and having cash coming in all the time, paying higher taxes, but we always had cash growing. We've kind of shied away and haven't done those as much. So we're, not having as much cash incoming, and we're putting a lot more cash outgoing because the call center is still building. Yes, we're making money on it, but we're not making what I would do if I was just going off and doing my flips, my 25 flips a year. So that has then gone into the finance side of this thing, which has made this more difficult because now I'm scaling and trying to figure out how do we finance all these deals. And so that then adds more stress. Then we're hiring employees. That then adds more stress. More stress in our day-to-day with my wife and I adds more stress to our marriage, which then adds more stress because we are stressful in our marriage. So I don't know. So what I'm doing, I guess, to combat these things is I have a personal trainer 5 days a week. I've been going to trauma therapy for childhood stuff for once a week for the last 6 months, which is super, super helpful. Sometimes I don't know if it's actually helpful in the sense of it's making me better or making me worse because I'm dealing with things that I've buried deep down inside. And so when you start dealing with these things, then all of a sudden it creates emotions. Now, instead of just like floating through life and not dealing with stuff, that's not good either. But now I'm dealing with stuff. So it's like a balancing act in that sense. And so I am putting so much effort into trying to make myself a better person. And you have slip ups, you have struggles, and trying to find time to do everything, trying to find time to be a good dad, trying to find time to be a good husband, and trying to do these things and dealing with myself so I can actually be happy. Because I struggle. I say this, my dad, who I think is a good dad and has done a lot of things really well, to help me get to where I'm at. But he's always said, if I went and told him I made $10 million on a deal, he would tell me a way to make $100 million. And so I always have to keep pushing in my mind because it's never enough. Like, doesn't matter what I do. I get that quick dopamine hit when I close a deal, but then it's quickly fades. So there's not sustainable internal happiness. And I think a lot of us in this world deal with these things, whether you have a job or your real estate or you're, whatever you're doing, nobody's happy 24/7. I mean, some people probably, maybe they say they are, but like there's still ups and downs, right, in this world. So, and I think we're all searching for that. What is the meaning of life? What was I put on this planet to do? Whether you're Christian or agnostic or atheist, whatever, people still want to know, like, what was the meaning, when we get done running a race, did I run a good race? And what was the meaning? And it goes back to really that journey side of it. And so it's been a struggle in a lot of ways to deal with these things. And so I am really committed, but I've been very committed to keep on the path because it's been very hard. The personal training, the mental health stuff, the counseling has been very, very difficult and brought off emotions, but I'm going all in again and continuing to go all in. I'm now doing hyperbolic chamber, brain oxygen therapy, trying to find ways to get better mentally. So it can be enough, because the long version of this is we can be done right now and live a very good life. And my wife has always said, our goal was financial freedom. Why do we need more? Well, I'm having fun. And that's what I say a lot to her is I'm having fun and I want to build something. Like, what would I do with my life? But doing that in a sustainable way and being able to turn it off at night and being able to do these things, I think is going to be the key to actual happiness and, more contentment on a day-to-day basis. And so what are you doing to figure these things out in your own life? Like, are you focused on these things? Like, I read a lot of books. I listen to a lot of stuff where I'm trying to be better every day. We all have things that we struggle in that we need to get better at. And if you're listening to this still, that there's certain things that you can do. So what are you doing to try to be a little bit better each and every day? And I've had to be okay with taking some steps back where I'm like, I'm definitely not as good as I was, but it's 2 steps back to start taking steps forward in my sense. So that's kind of what I've been going through this year. And then you start doing these podcasts, and this is another responsibility that I put on my plate. And so it's, trying to get good content out for you guys and making sure that I have something to talk about, where sometimes I'm not motivated to what am I going to talk about, or I look at the downloads and I get really disappointed in myself if the downloads are less, or I see, like, if I do an interview with this guy, the listen through rate is a lot less, or when I talk, my listen through rate's a lot higher. So obviously more you guys like listening to me talk, or it's just because it's shorter. So the question, but I'm always questioning, like, is Tucker going to get mad at me or not like me because I didn't do this one thing, or this list people didn't listen, or whatever. And it's just that sense of having to please people and trying to, instead of just doing it and trusting the process and just doing it and not worrying about those things. One thing Tucker's been fantastic about on this podcast is he doesn't talk to me about the numbers. He just, gives me feedback and pointers and kind of lets me do it. And, again, I've said so many things about Tucker, but that guy is just a quality human being that is tough but fair and just holds up his end of the bargain day in and day out on everything he does, and pairs it with being a good husband, a good father. And I'm sure he has things to work on, but he's got a lot going on in his life too. So it's cool and that's been the most enjoyable part of this whole journey in the last couple of years is I've surrounded myself with a lot of people that I really look up to and I'm learning from. So couple things that I would give you to go out and search out in your own life right now is who are you surrounding yourself with? There's that old saying, you are the average of the 5 people that you hang around with. And I know it's very cliche, but it's very telling, and how much I've had to level up to be around these people, Tucker, Greg, Cole, different people in my partnerships. I've had to level up in a way and get uncomfortable in a way that I never did before. So I'll give you some examples. We partnered with Greg Lynch, who is building a ton of property in Kirkland. He was on the show 6-8 months ago. And we partnered with him on some of our multifamily. So we bought the 25 unit with him, and we bought the 32 unit last week with him. And we're creating a management holding company. And he made a comment to me one time when I'm like, hey, what should I be doing here? Like, I don't know what to do, or what's my role, or this or that. He's like, you're a CEO and you're asking another CEO to give you tasks. You need to be able to think and understand what you're doing and what you need to do to bring value to this partnership. So I've had to do some definite soul searching. I've done some pitch decks that I've never been good at doing PowerPoints, and I downloaded Canva. I had 15, 20 hours on this one simple 7-page slide deck that I had to pare back and ask a lot of questions from people of like, what do I make it look better? All these different things. And it's like, normally I would just have I would put it on somebody else's plate to do it, or it just didn't get done. And so I'm having to level up and making sure that I am doing those things. We're now all in Asana, and we have tasks that we're responsible for that are in our lane, right? And, I'm in charge of certain things, and I can't just let them fall through, because then I'm not holding up my end of the bargain. But in order to not let them fall through, I have to level up. I have to be more of a business owner. We haven't been good business owners since we've done this. We've done a lot of good things. We made a lot of money and we've done really well, but we've never ran it as a business, really. We haven't hired employees. We've always done it all ourselves, Chrissy included. We were talking with Greg the other day, and, we're trying to get her out of the day-to-day, and she kept saying, hey, I can do this accounting thing or this. And then Greg's like, no, we want to make this vertical, not horizontal. You shouldn't be doing this. Who can do it for you? Really understanding, like, you have to level up and start outsourcing tasks, but you have to understand the tasks that you're outsourcing, and you need to be able to give clear, concise direction. And the hardest thing for me this year was I gave up all my sales calls for my negotiation for my single family housing to Tony. And Tony's also doing all our lead gen for our multifamily for the front end, but I just couldn't handle it all. And I can't scale that way. And it drives me effing nuts, because every time he's doing a deal, I'm like, I could have closed this deal, but I have to be okay with letting him go screw it up. And that's something that I've had to be okay with, which has also been, a struggle that comes back into the stress and the finances and the mental health, because, if he's having deals that he's missing because he's got to learn the same way when I started out, I missed a lot of deals that I needed to learn on, and I had to do these same things. Then all of a sudden I'm like, shit, we need to put money on the table and food on the table, right? To buy these buildings. So but I have to be okay. I can't grow unless I literally allow these things to happen and let Tony to go screw these things up. And so as I can just coach. Same thing in the call center. I had to step back from the call center and let Spencer handle a lot of that stuff from the day-to-day, because I was doing lists, I was doing skip tracing, I was dealing with all these people, the call center managers, and I just didn't have time. And so we hired Spencer for that. And I had to take 3 months basically, and I would answer any questions he had, but let him do these things. And our revenue showed definitely that I was not around, because one thing that my skill set is connecting people and driving revenue. And so revenue was down, and I had to be okay with it. And now as we've come out, the last couple of months, he's done really, really well. But it took 3 months of pain to get there. And if we're not okay getting there, then I'm going to be stuck in the same cycle, and then everything's going to fall apart. So trying to build like this foundation that really goes to actual growth in the future. That's where I'm at, guys. If you have any feedback, I'd love to hear your story. If anybody would like to talk about it, you can reach out to me on Instagram, and you just want to talk if you're in a tough spot. But just know that people are dealing with shit at the end of the day, and it doesn't always look as good as it does on Instagram. That's for sure. So I'm open. I've talked to a lot of listeners about stuff, depression, anxiety, talking about Adderall and if it's worth it and all these different things. And, I would love to talk to you, and especially if you're in a bad spot mentally, reach out to me and I'll hop on a call with you. No problem. That's what this platform's for, is to help people. And I want you guys to be the best version that you can be. This business can change your freaking world and change your life in such a positive way, but it can also change it in a negative way if you don't let it be good in this world, be a good thing. And so, I've definitely swung to the side sometimes of overworking and putting, people aside for my ambitions so, but like, you can make a good living just working 10 hours a week, flipping houses, doing this business. We did it for 3 years. It just depends on what kind of business you want. My ego says I want to build a big business. And so that's something I have to work with, instead of like, am I doing it for the right reasons, or am I doing it so I can tell my dad that I did this, and maybe one day he'll say, well done, instead of saying, hey, here's a way you could have done it better. And so trying to come, and I know he doesn't mean it in that sense. He gets excited about ideas. That's where I get it from. I know he's proud of me, but it's something that you take and I want to make everybody else happy. And so what are the real reasons for doing this? So that's where I'm at this right now, guys. I'm just trying to figure that out, trying to get my plans. If you haven't started working on your goals for next year, time to start working on your goals. One thing I would highly recommend, I created an accountability group with my Greg Lynch 2 years ago. We do bi-weekly accountability calls, just the two of us. More than that didn't really work. So it's an hour and a half every 2 weeks. That has been a game changer in so many ways. And so I would say that it needs to be somebody outside. We started a business later, but somebody outside of your business that is doing similar things, but maybe different. And you just talk about where you're at. We have our 3 yearly goals. So I'm going to be working really hard on what my goals are for the next year, what things I need to get out of, what partnerships I need to get out of, what things I need to pare back, what do I need to focus on, and who do I need to become to be that business leader that is going to really impact not only my community, but my family and my employees as we grow, and making sure I have a stable base for them. So that is where we're at. I think I will have some good, exciting news on another multifamily deal that I think we're tying up this week. It's with the lawyers right now. So hopefully I'll have some good news next week that I can talk about. Also felt really good on that 32 unit. We had a guy bring us that lead. I worked the deal the entire time, but we were able to hand him a $25,000 check, and his son was there with him. And it was pretty cool to see how he parented his son to talk about these things. Very similar to the way my dad told me when I was a kid and I'd go on appointments, like, this is why we made this money and this is why we bought this house or this deal, is because we helped this person or we solved this problem. So watching him do that was very cool and inspiring, and he's just a good guy. So felt really good about that. But we're looking for deals. We're willing to pay people for deals, especially multifamily deals. If you're anywhere, Snohomish County, Spokane, Tri-Cities, Vancouver, Arizona, Tennessee, Texas, possibly, and some other markets as well. Boise, we would be love to buy deals. If you have somebody you're talking to on the bigger deals, multifamily deals, we'll definitely work the deal ourselves, but we'll cut you a check too, and you'll make some good money there along the way and learn how we did it. So I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Hope you are crushing it in your business. But again, in the slower time for buying houses, really think about who you need to become next year to be the person that you think you want to be, and make some, very basic 3 goals. I would suggest 3 business goals and 1 personal goal, and then write down your plan of how you're going to get there, and then find an accountability partner to help keep you on track. So you're not just getting stuck in the day-to-day grind, but you're actually working every 2 weeks on moving your goals forward. So hope you guys have a great day. I will catch you on the next one.